Today we're diving into a brand new victim, someone that Jeffrey Epstein and his entire network tried to bury, but we found it. Her name is Katarina, and she was deeply involved in the Epstein network. Today, we're gonna dive in and see what this whole story is about and connect those ties. Let me know what you're drinking as you watch through this video with me. I'm having my morning coffee. Thanks for subscribing. Now, let's dive in.
2 days after a 26-year-old model was found dead in her bathtub alongside her 2 dogs, someone sent Jeffrey Epstein an email. Kate just committed suicide. And the sender wasn't a stranger. It was one of the 4 women named as potential co-conspirators in Epstein's 2007 non-prosecution agreement. A woman court filings described as a, quote, live-in sex slave. A woman who 5 years earlier had screened a young Czech girl for Epstein while he sat in jail for sex offenses. The girl she screened was called Katka. Katka, I think I'm pronouncing that right, is the Czech nickname for Katarina, and the dead model's name was Katarina Netolickova. And here's the part that should bother you. The autopsy said that it wasn't suicide. It said no foul play, no substances, a healthy 26-year-old championship athlete whose body just stopped.
Now, this is something that happened back in 2014, this death that we're speaking of. So it's pretty crazy, and I'm happy that it is finally coming out now. We're talking about 12 years after the death actually happened, and the ties are there. The evidence is there.
The dogs were never explained, the case went quietly closed, and for 11 years, nobody even thought to connect her to Jeffrey Epstein until last week, when anonymous researchers started digging through the files and they found her. And once you see everything that they found, you're going to have the same questions that I do. Katarina Netolickova was born November 1st, 1988 in Most, which is a coal mining city in the northwest of the Czech Republic, near the German border. In 2004, at 15, she entered a national competition called Top Model of the New Millennium, and she ended up winning the whole competition. In an interview she gave as a teenager, right after that win, she talked about the life that she was potentially leaving behind. Before, it was just volleyball, she said. I thought I'd never trade it for anything in the world. But Katarina's modeling career took off rather fast. One of her first bookings was with Prada, then she went to New York, she did H&M, Harper's Bazaar, magazine covers across Europe. A 15-year-old from a Czech mining town, suddenly inside of the machine that feeds young Epstein European girls into the global fashion industry. In what was a twist of events for me to find out, by 2014, she was not only this big successful model, but she also was a successful kickboxer.
Now, she's already in the space that we know has been completely infiltrated by Epstein, and not only Epstein, many of the personalities and the people that run Dirty Hollywood. A lot of the girls that are grabbed from that modeling space. And a lot of them are around the age of Katarina.
In October of 2014, she won the Czech national championship in the K1 category. Her coach told the German press she trained 6 times a week. She was preparing for the world championships. And Katarina was in love. For 5 years, she'd been with someone named Jacob Petrzalik. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He was a professional hockey player and a Litvinov local. And the two shared an apartment in his hometown while he spent that season playing in Russia.
I mean, honestly, so far how she's setting up her life, she's got a live-in boyfriend, she's training to be the #1 fighter in her weight class, and she's an established model. It doesn't seem that anything is in place for her to to end herself.
Czech media reported that they were planning a wedding. Some outlets were already calling her his fiancé, and after her death, he walked away from the Russian league entirely and came home to play for Litvinov, the town where he lost her. By everything I read and came across, Katarina doesn't seem to be somebody that was spiraling by any sense of the word. I mean, her coach described a discipline that she had, 6 sessions a week, a world championship in her sights. And her friend Adrian, who stood beside her at nationals a month before, described someone happy, in love, and someone that was settled. It seemed that she'd survived the machine that chews up teenage models and came out the other side with a title belt, a fiance, and a hometown that she never really left. Every single thing in her life was pointed in one direction, but she only had 8 days left. Sunday, November 9th, 2014, Litvinov, Czech Republic. Katarina isn't answering her phone. Jacob is in Russia playing hockey, so his brother Miroslav goes to the apartment that they share, and there's no answer when he knocks, so he ends up breaking down the door. He ends up finding her in the bathtub, and she's dead at that point. And strangely enough, both of her dogs are dead too. It was just 2 days after her 26th birthday. The Czech tabloids went really feral. Suicide, stroke, brain hemorrhage, gas leak, that one seemed to spread fast because of the dogs. Her friend Adrian told reporters he couldn't make sense of any of it. Nobody really could. 6 weeks later, just before Christmas in 2014, Czech police released the findings, and there was 3 conclusions. No foul play, no foreign substances in her body, none, which also killed the gas leak theory. And the cause of death was health problems that she likely didn't even know that she had.
All right, so right here, already we're hearing things that are just screaming that this wasn't something she did to herself. How would there be a gas leak, but there was no gas in her system? What that means is the gas leak happened after she was breathing. So she was already dead before the gas leak happened, which tells me that she was killed, and then the gas leak was staged afterward.
Outlets reported it as probable heart failure. A championship kickboxer training 6 times a week. Heart failure in a bathtub. And the dogs? Gas was ruled out and starvation was impossible because she had been gone only a day before she was found. To this day, no official explanation for those 2 dogs has ever been published. Not by police, not by anyone. Wow. 2 healthy animals dead in the same apartment on the same day as their healthy owner. And the case just went closed. The tabloids moved on. And then there was 11 years of silence. Then the Epstein files opened, millions of pages, and researchers coming through them found a photograph of a young, dark-haired woman standing next to someone that, if you're familiar with the Epstein case at all, you may recognize. Nadia Marcinkova. Nadia Marcinkova was one of the 4 women named as potential co-conspirators in Epstein's 2007 non-prosecution agreement, alongside Sarah Kellen, Leslie Groff, and Adriana Ross. I've actually made a whole video about the 4 women who worked alongside Epstein, and I will link that below if you're interested in watching it. Court filings describe Nadia Marcinkova as Epstein's, quote, live-in slave. A JP Morgan internal compliance document in the files states Epstein reportedly purchased her from her parents at 14 years old. She was brought to America as a teenager through the modeling pipeline.
We were also talking about her and how she worked for the plane industry, and there was some cover-up front type aerial company. We just put that video out about a week ago at this point in time. It was very strange, and she was the face of that company.
The same machine that found Katarina at 15. Nadia Marcinkova appears on more than 140 of Epstein's flight logs. She visited him over 70 times in jail. And in a 2010 deposition, when lawyers asked her whether she'd been on a plane with Bill Clinton, she pled the 5th. Asked about Prince Andrew, the 5th. Over 40 times on question after question, she said, I plead the 5th. This is a woman that is photographed next to Katarina. But let's rewind to October 18th, 2009. Jeffrey is serving his jail sentence in Palm Beach. And on that Sunday evening, an email lands in an account that has people labeled JE Jail. But I found that the actual email address is jevacation@gmail.com. So clearly, he is considering his jail sentence as his vacation. Anyways, Nadia is screening a girl for him from jail. She sends him a photo of a young Czech woman, and Epstein writes back, not enough info. Nadia replies that she'll Skype with her, quote, today or tomorrow.
Mind you, the email address that he just stated that he looked at as a vacation, as far as my knowledge goes, that's always been his email address throughout all the files. So he actually probably just changed his name to J.E. Jail versus Jeffrey Epstein, just while he was in jail.
To get a better idea. The girl's name in the emails is Katka. Katka is a standard Czech nickname for Katarina. And then 6 months later, in April of 2010, Epstein emails Nadia Marcinkova about a trip he calls the Czech Ride. Is the Katka in those emails Katarina? Of course, I cannot prove that. And to be fair, Katarina is one of the most common names in the Czech Republic. But what those emails prove beyond any doubt is this. Jeffrey's inner circle was actively recruiting young Czech women by name while he sat in a jail cell for sex offenses. That is documented. That is in the files.
It's actually crazy that while he was in jail, the recruiting was still happening, planning for him to get out of jail and continue doing everything that he was doing. The funny thing is, remember, he wasn't actually spending a lot of time in jail. He was actually allowed to go back to his house and work on a daily basis, except for on Sundays, and then just go back to jail for his sleep.
And Surprise, surprise. Nobody's ever been asked to answer for it. Which brings us back to the email. November 11th, 2014 at 5:05 p.m., 2 days after Katarina's body was found, there's an email from Nadia to Jeffrey Epstein. And it says, quote, Kate just committed 26. And underneath, there's a link to a Czech news article. And the news article is talking about the Katarina that we were talking about, the model who died. So that in itself proves that they knew her, and not even as her full name, but as Kate. So they had given her a nickname. To me, this is proof that Katarina was in Jeffrey's orbit in some sense, because you wouldn't send an email to Jeffrey Epstein using Kate as a nickname if he didn't even know her or she wasn't part of their whole circle, if that makes sense. But the weirdest part about it to me is that the email she sends with the words, quote, Kate just committed suicide, is asserting something that the article never said. That headline gives no cause of death. Nobody knew the cause. The autopsy was 6 weeks away. Committed suicide is Nadia Marcinkova's addition and her claim. And when the autopsy finally came back, it didn't say suicide. It said natural causes, an undiagnosed condition, no substances in her system at all. Her claim and the official finding cannot both be true. It's all just very odd and alarming to me. And then on top of all of that, there's her dogs, because here's the thing about the official explanation. An undiagnosed heart condition explains Katarina, but it does not explain the 2 dogs who both simultaneously died the same day that she died. Czech police have never reopened Katarina's case. No agency in any country has ever publicly cross-referenced the deaths of women in Epstein's orbit against these documents.
How did these dogs actually die, and how did they simultaneously die? Now, I know that the gas leak could have had a simultaneous death, but if they already ruled out gas as the reason for death, it was clearly a cover-up. And maybe it was one of Jeffrey Epstein's girls here or someone from that crew that made all of this happen.
By researchers' counts, there are dozens of them. Young women who died early and under very strange circumstances. But this connecting of the dots between Katarina and potentially being part of Epstein's circle, it was linked together from anonymous forum users. Nobody official announced it. Nobody official has even said a word. Which means that if Katarina's family knows her face is in the Epstein files, they learned it the same way that you and I just did. From a forum post. 11 years ago, a mining town girl who thought that she'd never trade volleyball for anything died in a bathtub with her dogs, and the machine that knew her by a nickname never even had to acknowledge that she existed. You know, Czech police can reopen a case file when new evidence emerges. An email from a named Epstein co-conspirator asserting a cause of death their own autopsy contradicts. That is new evidence to me. If the DOJ can just look through their own unredacted files to see if the Katka screen in October of 2009 was in fact Katarina, or if Nadia Marcinkova can be asked under oath how she knew Kate, then maybe we could get some answers to Katarina's family. If her death really was a hidden condition and just horrible timing, they deserve to have that confirmed against these files, instead of finding her name in them through a Reddit thread.
And it's so true what he's saying, that mainstream media has moved on. It's actually a shame, but that's why we are here, to keep this story alive and to keep on digging through the facts to find out what actually happened. Will we ever get there? Hopefully we do. But the evidence shown right here from Katarina is damning. It is obvious that something went on that was not by the book, and what was logged in police records is actually not the truth. If you want to learn more about the Epstein network, check out this video, and I'll see you guys over there.